Hey everyone, welcome back to another Beast of the Mesozoic review. Today we're taking a look at the new 1/18 scale Psittacosaurus mongoliensis. And I definitely have to say the species name because Psittacosaurus is the most species-rich dinosaur known. Up to 12 species are currently known. And see, we're kicking this review right off with a dinosaur fact. Now, a couple years ago when the Ceratopsian series campaign was going on, Psittacosaurus was one of the ones I had my fingers crossed would be unlocked. Even though it was a 1/6 scale figure, and I've said it many times during my reviews, I prefer the 1/18 scale figures, but I really like Psittacosaurus, so I really didn't care what scale I got it in. And man, what a wild ride the Ceratopsian Kickstarter was when it first debuted. You know, I think only maybe 40% of the figures got unlocked with the Kickstarter. Psittacosaurus was definitely one of them, but man, that whole campaign made me really nervous. I'm glad David found out a way to back the figures during backer kit, because I'm not kidding you, my butthole was so clenched during that whole pre-order phase that you couldn't even jackhammer a pin into it, because I really wanted that Torosaurus to be unlocked, which was the last figure in the campaign. But you know, that was 2 years ago, and that's just me reminiscing. But yeah, pretty crazy that we have these 1/18 scale figures already in our hands. These go great with the, you know, most of the figures in the Ceratopsian series are 1/18 scale, and I love Psittacosaurus, and I can never get enough figures of this species. Now, if you want to pick up this figure for yourself, it retails for $24.99, but at the time of this review, they're still up for pre-order on Creative Beast site for $21.99. That's until the second shipment of these figures hit the US, and then all the pre-orders will be fulfilled. Once that happens, it will go back up to its regular retail price of $24.99. So if you want to save a couple bucks, the link is down below in the description to order one for yourself. So let's go over the package really quick before we take this figure out. Let's just raise the camera up a little bit so we can take a nice view of that beautiful artwork. It's the same exact artwork that appeared on the 1/6 scale version of the figure. You got the Psittacosaurus beautifully presented in this bubble packaging. Turn around to the back, you do get a card to cut out, which I don't know why anyone would do it, because this is very collector-friendly packaging. Here are the other 6 figures available in this first wave of 1/18 scale figures. The only ones I have left to review is this Proceratops and Linoraptor. So to show you how collector friendly this is, all you need to do is cut the tape along the edges right here, and this card will easily slide out, and that allows you to pop out this blister, and you can easily remove the figure from here. So yes, very collector friendly packaging. Absolutely love it. Wish more companies would do this, because you know, this day and age, a lot of adults are collecting these figures, and we just don't want to destroy the packaging. We want to have the option to put these figures back in their packaging to keep them safe if we ever need to store them. So enough about the packaging. Let's throw this thing up on the turntable and take a closer look. And let's start with this 360-degree view of the Psittacosaurus. I have to say, of the 6 new 1/18 scale smaller figures, this one is the surprise hit. I really like messing around and playing with this figure. Maybe because I'm a little bit more partial to Psittacosaurus than the other figures that came out, except for Dromaeosaurus. But yeah, this is a really well done 1/18 scale figure, despite its really small size. It's basically a shrunken down version of the 1/6 scale. The coloration is just a little bit darker, not as orange as the original release, but we'll take out the original release a little bit later on in the review for comparisons. But yeah, it's a really fun figure. Just love that dark maroon color and the dark markings. We actually, you know, have a really good idea of what Psittacosaurus looked like. There's been plenty of well-preserved specimens. We know what its butthole looks like, scale details. The whole quills on Ceratopsians stem from Psittacosaurus because the specimen was found with quills on it, and we actually found one that actually had the melanin in the skin to get a good idea of what colors were in the scales, and this coloration right here is pretty close to what that looks like. So yeah, a very accurate dinosaur figure. It's probably one of the dinosaurs species that we know the most about, and that's probably why I like this species. It's just, you know, dinosaurs are always a mystery to us, and it's nice to get a glimpse to what they looked like, you know, parts of their body, because, you know, I was always curious what a dinosaur butthole looked like. So yeah, really like this figure. I think anyone that picks it up is going to be very happy with it. And now for some quick measurements. This figure is 4 inches long from the tip of the beak to the tip of the tail, or about 10 centimeters, and about 1.5 inches tall, depending on how you have it posed. That's about 3.8 centimeters. So Psittacosaurus in real life was just under 6.6 feet long, or about 2 meters. So I put this figure nicely in that 1/19 scale range. Now let's talk about the accessories that come with this figure before we take a closer look at it. It comes with the clear base that all the new 1/18 scale figures come with. This one does not come with display rod. You just have a little peg on the bottom of the feet to plug into that base to help with posing. You can see it's a very light figure. The figure just pegs in and it does stand on 1 foot. You do get 2 other sets of legs. This is the sitting leg, and this one right here on this side is the straight leg. So if you want to pop off the straight leg, we'll just twist and pull. You can pop on the other sitting leg right here and just be very, you don't want to push it too hard. You don't want to snap the pegs. You can get a nice sitting pose with the Psittacosaurus, which is something the 1/6 scale couldn't pull off that well. So I really do enjoy the sitting legs on this figure. You can see you can mix and match them and get different poses out of them. All 4 legs do have articulation on them, and only one of the sitting legs does have peg holes on it, which I find really odd. I just don't know why the other ones don't. Probably just the balancing issue on this, because the peg is kind of to the top right hand corner of this base. I guess if they had the peg holes on all the different feet, the base will probably flip over. So I do kind of get that, but I just kind of wish there was an option that all 4 legs actually had this peg hole. And let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with that nicely sculpted head. That's a nice Psittacosaurus mongoliensis head. Like I said, there's up to 12 species of Psittacosaurus, and all the head shapes vary differently. So David did a really nice job capturing this species head shape. If this goes in and out of focus, I apologize. My camera absolutely despises these new 1/18 scale figures. I feel like the last few reviews I've done of these have not been that great because they keep going in and out of focus, so I do apologize. You can see the eye is actually painted yellow with a black pupil. Beak is done in a white and yellowish coloration. You have some black markings, white and yellow markings along the side of the head. On the other side, you do have this bright, like yellowish cream color for the underside of the throat. And for the belly, it goes all the way down to about the 3/4 point of the tail. You have all this nice fine scale detail all over the body. Like I said, very nicely textured figure for a tiny figure. This thing's only 4 inches long, and it is just jam-packed with details. Going down to the arms, you can see the tiny little fingers do have little bits of black paint to paint the claws, which is a pretty crazy feat. You know, Mattel can paint the claws on figures that are probably about the size of this figure. You have more of that cream coat on the underside of the arms. One thing I will say, I like how the pattern is actually symmetrical now when you're looking at it, because of this joint right here. If you had it lined up, well, at least my copy of the 1/6 scale, it wasn't symmetrical, and that was like my biggest complaint about that 1/6 scale. Actually, I do have it right here, so I'll just show it really quick. You can see on this one, looking at it from the sides, it wasn't symmetrical. I have it lined up with the back, and on the side right here, it just did not line up. It looks much better on this the 1/18 scale. You can see everything lines up real nice. And then going down to the hind legs are nicely done. Some nice muscle definition on the thighs and calves. Toe claws are painted in nice and black. And then going down to the tail, the quills are all nicely sculpted. So like all around, just a really neatly sculpted figure. It's definitely the highlight of these 1/18 scale figures. Oh my God, camera, focus on this freaking thing. It just drives me crazy. So yeah, definitely the highlight of the 6 figures that came out. This is definitely my favorite one. Now for articulation of the figure is pretty good. I do have a slight issue with mine. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a little bit annoying. The mouth can close kind of flush. I feel like there's some paint stuck in here. I can't really get the mouth to open much wider than that, but it doesn't close completely flush. But it is a smaller figure, so I don't expect the articulation to be as fine as the larger version. The head can rotate up, it can rotate down, and for the neck, you get some side to side, up and down movement. And you can see the flaw right here. The ball joint very easily pops out of mine. If I just raise it too high, it will pop out. It's not the biggest deal, but it takes basically minimal force for that neck to pop out. I might try thickening it up a little bit with some clear nail polish, but yeah, just something to be concerned of. You don't want this to pop off and like fall on the floor and get lost. The arms can move forwards and backwards, and they can swing out a little bit. I kind of wish there was still an elbow joint on here. The arms are thick enough that they probably could have been a joint on there. The raptor arms are definitely much thinner and more frail, and they have joints on them, so it would have been nice if this actually had an elbow joint. For the torso, you do get some up and down movement and side to side with that joint. We're just going to keep the figure headless for a moment. The back legs can move backwards and forwards on that joint. You do get some nice knee articulation on all sets of the legs, and for the tails, side to side and up and down movement. So yeah, all in all, the articulation on this figure works really well. The only annoying thing is it's just the head just keeps popping out with the slightest touch. And moving on with comparisons, here it is with the Hammond Collection Alan Grant, which is also a 1/18 scale figure, so it gives you a great idea of how big Psittacosaurus was in real life. And next up here is the 1/6 scale Psittacosaurus. And like I said, I really am a big fan of the 1/6 scale one. You know, the non-symmetrical paint apps aside, you can see that the 1/18 scale is much darker in coloration than the larger one. It's a bigger figure. You can get more paint apps on here. And I think they complement each other really, really well. This definitely can serve as a juvenile to be displayed alongside the 1/6 scale, so you can have like a nice little family group going if you buy a couple more of these. So yeah, definitely they look great displayed next to each other. And here is Safari Limited's version of Psittacosaurus. And next up here is a life-size cast of a Psittacosaurus skull. I completely forgot what species of Psittacosaurus this was. When I bought it, it didn't list what species name, and I did some research and I kind of figured it out, and for the life of me, I cannot figure out what species the skull represents. And next up here are the other 1/18 scales that have been previously reviewed on the channel. The Protoceratops, Velociraptor, and here is the Dromaeosaurus. And next up, let's compare it to some Ceratopsian series figures. Here it is with the absolute massive Torosaurus and the Cosmoceratops. I think this Torosaurus is coming with me in a couple days to Denver. I want to bring it into the museum and have it picture taken next to the tiny Torosaurus skeleton that they have displayed there. So I should look like a complete psycho as a grown adult taking this figure out of my backpack and putting it next to that skeleton. And lastly, here it is with the 1/18 scale gray T-Rex that, like I keep saying, one day I will finish. I don't think I'm going to work on this thing until I get back from my Denver trip, because to see how absolutely massive this 1/18 scale Rex is going to be. I can't wait for people to actually get the painted versions in their hands. It's just a figure that you just need to experience unbox. It's absolutely massive and heavy. So final thoughts on the 1/18 scale Psittacosaurus. Definitely my favorite of the 6 new figures. It's just really fun to mess around with. It's very well done. It's painted beautifully, lots of nice detail and texturing. Love how the quills came out on the tail. My only complaint is, it might just be my copy, is the neck just pops really, really easy out of the body. It's a simple fix. You know, once I pop it back in, I can get all the poses I want out of it, but it's just a mild inconvenience. I don't know if it's across the board. If it is, let me know in the comments. But yeah, definitely another highly recommended figure from Beast of the Mesozoic. Like I said at the beginning of the review, it retails for $24.99. Right now, you can save a couple bucks if you pre-order it early before the second shipment arrives at the warehouse. The link to order it is down below in the description. So that will do it for the review. Just have 2 more figures left from these new ones to review, and I'm done with those until the Tyrannosaurs start arriving in October. I got 1 new Jurassic World figure coming in. I don't know if I'm going to get that review up before I leave for Denver, but I'm hoping I'm not too annihilated from going to breweries out there. One of the things I am big into, I love craft beer, love going to breweries. It's one of the reasons why I'm going out there. So we'll see what condition I am in to film the museum and the Jurassic World expedition. It might be a highly entertaining video if I go to those things a little bit under the bottle, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when I come back from Denver. I'll try to get as much footage as I can, maybe piece together the dino portions of that trip. So that will do it. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.